The Manau force is the force that the other two forces that create the Divine Trinity came out of. That is the first one and the most powerful part of the God consciousness. It is considered the Divine Spirit, and out of that came the Divine Mother and the Divine Father, the Divine Sound and the Divine Light, out of which everything else came into creation. So in the beginning, we have the Manau, and out of the Manau, the next thing that came was a vibration, the first vibration, the first particum unit, first point of vibration, which would be the first pre-sound sound. That was also a force. It was a force, a part of God's consciousness. First, God broke a part of itself down into the Manau. Then it broke that Manau down into two other points of focus. The first was the Ire, and that's the Divine Feminine. The Ire forms the sound. At the same time, it wasn't one was created first. They pop into existence together, just like with Partakai, Partakai, and Particum. You have Partakai phasing that we've talked about, where you have one Partakai unit, and it breaks itself down into a Partakai and a Particum, and it polarizes. Then it comes back up, and it flashes on and off. Well, this is the same thing. These are the first Partakai, Partakai, and Particum. But they're alive. They're beings. They're fields of God consciousness. And each one of us are connected to these fields of God consciousness. So once we know structure, the next thing, it's kind of like once you get the wiring done in the house, then you turn on the power and the lights work, right? Hopefully. We are learning now what that power is so we can turn on the power, our own God power that lives within us. And that power is fueled by one primary intention. And that one primary intention, that all of those parts, and the parts we're going to find out that came out of those, they all function on one primary agreement, one agreed upon intention, the creation intention, that was love. Absolute, unconditional love. We're going to learn as we move along. We find out about the currents that come out of these. We find out more about these forces that live and breathe within us, and there are parts of us that live and breathe within us that we need to get to know again. There's the one thing that is a fully unified field, the unified field consciousness, a field of consciousness that is composed of standing scalar wave grids and all that stuff. The underlying thing that holds it all together is the force of love, the force of vibrational harmonization. Now, interestingly, in the creation front, when the Manau creates the Ire, which becomes the Eros when it comes down lower, which is interestingly associated with the word love, the Ire is the magnetic pull force. It is the current that, if you go into manifestation, that's how you spiral back out. It's the coming back out current. At the same time that the Ire was created, there is its counterpart and its opposite, the Mane. The Mane is the projection outward force. And they are not just forces doing stuff with energy, they're intentions. The Ire wanting to draw together and hold together, while the Mane wanting to go out, having the intention, the desire, the thrust to move outward, to express itself outward, while the other has its desire to express itself inward. And they create together a balance within the Manau force, a balance of push and pull, a balance that if they were perfectly still, everything, nothing, we wouldn't have creation. Creation requires movement of intention within the original intention of the Manau, of the point of focus that God used to create the rest of what we're living right now. So we have the Manau, the Ire, and the Mane. When you put these three things together, they each have a silent sound that if you bring the silent sound out, the Manau has the sound called ek. It doesn't have a K hard sound on it yet. It's ek, kind of like the sound electricity makes. When there's a little buzz that electricity makes, it has almost like almost like a Morse code kind of thing. Well, the first vibration sound of the Manau force is the ek sound. The first sound of, and this is actually the ka sound, does not go with the Ire, even though the Ire was created. When they were created, the Ire stayed closer into the Manau, while the other projected, the Mane project out further. But when we put these sound tones together, we come up with the ek for the Manau, the ka goes with the Manet. Because what happens is you have the Manao, it creates the ire, and then between the two, the Manet forms. So you have the void, the sound, and between the two comes the light. So when the sound tones are used together, you get ek for Manao, you get ka for Manet, and the sha for the ire. You get akasha. That's what the word akasha means. It's referring to, it's calling upon those sounds. The sounds become very important. As we move through the program that we have today, we're going to learn some interesting things about sounds.